Episode 18, the conversation you didn't have. You already know the conversation. The one where you substituted a careful question instead of saying something directly. And you convinced yourself they'd land there eventually. But it's now 3 months later and you're still guiding. The behaviour, still there. But the frustration is bigger now. And you know the conversation never actually happened. There's a name for what you're doing. It's called intelligent avoidance. Cute thing is, it doesn't even look like avoidance. It looks like coaching. It looks like patience. It, it looks like you're giving someone space to grow. You ask the guided question. You soften the observation. You lead them toward the thing you should have named 3 months ago. And yet, they don't land there. And you try a different angle next time. You've been coaching the conversation you didn't have the courage to have directly. Intelligent avoidance looks like leadership. Guided question, softened observation, the space to self-discover. It's still avoidance. It's just better dressed. And here's what it looks like within a system. You see the behavior you don't like. Not a catastrophe, I guess. Not something you can't ignore. Just something that isn't quite right. So instead of naming it, you create a whole context where they might name it themselves. What do you think went well there? What might you do differently next time? They give you an answer, you nod, and the behavior continues. And it becomes next month, same moment. Try again with a different question, a slightly softer frame, and somewhere along the way, you started rooting around them. The project goes to somebody else. The responsibility moves. No conversation. No closure. Just a quiet reroute. The system adapted. The conversation never happened. You didn't have the conversation, so the system had it for you. Projects reroute. Responsibility shifts. Everybody knows. Nobody says it. And while you guide instead of name, you stay safe. You weren't harsh. You weren't even unfair. You gave themselves every opportunity to see it for themselves. You can still be the patient one, the thoughtful one, the one who leads with kindness. And they can stay the person who just didn't quite get there. No conversation. There's no moment anyone can point to. And no record of you ever having said it directly because intelligent avoidance keeps you clean at their expense. But there's always a pattern, there's always a pain. And here is what accumulates. 3 months later, nothing has changed except the weight of it. Because now you're more frustrated. Not, not because the weight got worse, because you've been watching it, been softening around it. You've rerouted around it for 3 months longer than you should have. And the lesson that was manageable in 1 month is now a significant conversation in 4 months. The debt didn't stay the same size. It grew while you were guiding. The unfinished conversation didn't sit still. It charged interest. The conversation you didn't have in a month is a much harder conversation in 4 months. The debt didn't wait. It compounded. I've run this pattern. People close to me, people I work with every day, people where the relationship makes the direct conversation harder to have. I'd see something that wasn't right. And instead of naming it, I'd soften it. I'd guide towards it. I'd create the conditions for them to find it for themselves. The truth is, they didn't find it. And I'd try a new angle. Months later, same behavior, more frustration, and now a bigger lesson. And somewhere in there, I had to ask myself whether guidance was for them or for me, whether leading them to self discovery was actually just a way of not being the one who said it. And I still don't always get it right. And the question I sit with now is whether I'm having the conversation or coaching around it. Those are not the same thing. The awareness doesn't close the loop, only the conversation does. And you can feel the difference between a conversation that happened and a conversation you rooted around. One of them gets settled and the other is still running. People around you can feel it too. They know what wasn't said and they navigate around it. They don't tell the new person directly. They just brief them on how things work. That briefing is the debt. The workaround is the cost. Emotional debt at work is not feeling problems. It's a structural debt on the system. Every project roots around it. Every meeting is shaped by it. Every new person inherits it. They're being told what they inherited. And the conversation you didn't have is now part of how the place runs. There's a conversation you've been meaning to have. You haven't been avoiding it, been coaching around it. You've been asking the right questions, giving them space, been creating the conditions. They haven't landed there. And you've told them, and you've told yourself, that's patience. What conversation have you turned into coaching? Because coaching meant you never had to say the thing directly.